so you're thinking of your question, try to make it as succinct as possible. First, we're going to Brian Pullman, and then we're going to Bruce Schutan.
Thanks, Carol, for being on today. Super insightful chat we've had so far. My question for you, a lot of the clients I deal with don't understand their strengths or their values, but most of my clients are actually below C-suite. So my question for you is, as an executive coach, how often do you find these people that are leading others haven't done the work they need personally to understand what fulfills them, or what drives them?
Yeah, I remember working with one guy, and he was a CEO, and I was like so shocked that he had the insight of a gnat. I'm thinking, how in the Lord's name did you get so far and know nothing? And then I realized that when he was, 22, 23, he strapped himself in that fighter jet, and his career just took off. And he'd never really had time to land. And the company he was in didn't do offsites, didn't do the kinds of things where you can land for a little bit before you take off. So that's one thing. So I think a lot of them don't know their strengths. We're trained to know our weaknesses. And I have a quick coaching model, which I can share with you. And what it is say, what's an example of what one of your clients might want to work on? If you just pull something from the air, Brian.
The 3 use cases I help with are landing a job in tech, promotions, and then career clarity, because a lot of people, because of COVID, are kind of realizing they want a job that's different than what they have currently.
Okay, and what would be like a leadership issue they would want to work on in the context of that?
So from a leadership perspective, a lot of the technical people get to a point where they realize that knowing things and having opinions about things aren't enough to sway other people. Like, they have to learn to bend a little bit more than they have. And a lot of these folks that got into tech originally, I'm going to paint broad strokes here, but they didn't love people, which is why they went into tech. And then they hit the ceiling where they're like, oh man, like I have to learn how to work with people now because I can't push my way through this, or be tenacious. Problem solving is not enough anymore, right?
Yeah. So for that, let's say we're dealing with a tech guy, and what he needs to do is basically be more people friendly. Now, unless he's Attila Bahan or possibly like Musk on the spectrum, what you can do is to say, okay, like if you were, let's say the particular skill taken from our 3 was listening, or with your people as they're looking for work, it's tenacity. What you would say is, okay, if you were first I say, like, why does this matter to you? And the challenge with some of your people is they don't have intrinsic motivation to work with people, but you can pull on their extrinsic. If you don't have intrinsic, okay, fine. Here's your extrinsic. How expensive is this going to be if you don't work on this, right? And then as people work on it, they often discover they like people a little bit more than they thought. But the thing is, okay, so if I was a 10 out of 10 on tenacious, or if I was a 10 out of 10 on being better with people, or even I want to like people and I don't. Okay, what would you look like at that 10 out of 10? Like, what would you be seeing? What would you be feeling, et cetera, et cetera? Then on that scale of 1 to 10, where are you now? Okay, so let's say the person says, I'm a 4. Then the next question, what are you doing right that you're not a 3? That's where that gets to the heart of your question about understanding their strengths. Not in a theoretical way. They can take out Strengths Finder and this and that. It's like, what are you doing right already with people? Then what else are you doing right? And what else are you doing right? And you just hammer that home. And then, like, to the point where they're drooling, then you say, what can you do over the next 4 to 6 weeks to get from a 4 to a 4.5? Now they've primed themselves with things that they've done right. And that's not easy. I often deal with them competitively by saying, listen, if I asked you your faults, you'd probably be way better at this. But identifying what you do right is much more cognitively complex and difficult. So let's try that one.